The sharp, insistent alarm blare shattered the pre-dawn silence in Amelia's modest apartment. Her eyes fluttered open, weighed down by exhaustion, but she forced herself upright. There was no room for hesitation. Each day was a balancing act, a relentless push toward the future she dreamed of, a future where her struggles wouldn't define her. Amelia's mornings began before the sun rose, a rushed ritual of brewing coffee and grabbing her medical textbooks, their edges frayed from endless study hours. Her days were a patchwork of responsibilities. Morning shifts at a bustling neighborhood clinic, university lectures she attended with a notebook always half-filled, and late nights spent waitressing at a diner where tips barely covered the essentials. Every moment of free time was dedicated to her goal, becoming a doctor. Not for status or wealth, but because she felt called to serve and heal. This ambition wasn't just a dream. It was a promise she'd made to herself long ago. The memories of her mother's hands, calloused from years of factory work, lingered like a shadow, reminding Amelia why she pushed herself so hard. Her family had given her everything they could, and she was determined to honor their sacrifices. Her phone buzzed with a message as she took a quick sip of coffee. It was from Logan, a name that stirred a mix of emotions. The message was brief but direct. "We need to talk. Can you meet me tonight?" Amelia stared at the screen, the words sinking in. Logan, her ex-boyfriend, had been a closed chapter in her life for months. Why was he reaching out? What did he want? She shook off the unease that crept over her, setting the phone aside. There wasn't time to dwell on it. She had the patience to see, complete assignments, and calculate bills. Whatever Logan had to say could wait until the evening. And so, as the world outside began to stir, Amelia stepped into the day, her determination as steady as her heartbeat, her vision firmly fixed on the road ahead. The hours passed in a haze of patient charts, hurried consultations, and whispered encouragements to worried families at the clinic. Amelia moved with a practiced efficiency, her empathy shining through even as exhaustion gnawed at her. But no matter how busy she kept, the message from Logan lingered in the back of her mind, a subtle weight she couldn't shake. By the time her afternoon classes ended, she replayed memories she thought she had long buried. Logan, the man who had once been her anchor in the storm. His charm, his ambition, they had drawn her in, but their relationship had been anything but smooth. The last time they spoke, his words had been like a cold wind, carrying doubts fueled by his parents' disapproval of her background. After finishing her shift at the diner that evening, Amelia stared at herself in the restroom mirror. Her reflection told a story of resilience. Dark circles under her eyes, a faint line of tension across her brow, but also one of quiet pride. She had made it this far without Logan. She entered the cool night air, arriving at the upscale restaurant Logan had chosen. It wasn't a place she would ever go alone, a symbol of a life she didn't belong to or aspire to. Spotting him at a table near the window, his figure silhouetted by the glow of the city lights, she paused. This meeting wasn't about rekindling old flames. It was about facing whatever unfinished business lingered between them. "Amelia," Logan greeted her with a faint smile as she approached. His voice was warm but restrained, as if carrying the weight of unspoken words. She slid into the chair opposite him, her posture composed despite the knot forming in her stomach. "You said we needed to talk. What's this about?" For a moment, Logan hesitated, running a hand through his neatly styled hair. "It's about us," he began, his gaze dropping to the table. "Or what was us?" Amelia's chest tightened. She had prepared for this, but his words felt like a blow. "Go on," prompted, her voice steady. "My parents," Logan started, his tone careful. "They don't see a future for us. They think," he paused, as if searching for a gentler way to phrase it, "that I need someone who fits into their world, someone who's already stable." His words hung in the air, each one slicing through her carefully maintained composure. Amelia's jaw tightened as she processed the implications. Her whole life had been a testament to her stability, her strength, her determination strength. Andy, the man she had once loved, dismissing it all as if it were insufficient. "And you?" she asked, her voice calm but tinged with hurt. "Do you agree with him?" Logan sighed, avoiding her gaze. Amelia, I care about you. But maybe they're right. I've been thinking about my career, my future, and Amelia didn't let him finish. And you think I'm not good enough to be part of it? She said, the clarity of her words cutting through the tension like a blade. Logan flinched, but he didn't deny it. I didn't mean it that way, he said, but the damage was done. I understand, Amelia said softly, standing up. Her hands trembled slightly, but she kept her head high. If that's how you feel, there's nothing more to discuss. Logan opened his mouth as if to protest, but no words came. Amelia didn't wait for him to find them. She left the restaurant, leaving behind the man who had once meant everything to her, and the untouched plate of food that now seemed like a symbol of something wasted. Back in the safety of her small apartment, the weight of the evening finally pressed down on Amelia. She sank onto her couch, the air heavy with silence, and let the tears fall freely. It wasn't just about Logan. It was about years of feeling like she had to prove herself to her family, her professors, and the world. And now, even to someone who had her professors, and as her tears subsided, her gaze fell on her surroundings. The worn-out couch she had bought secondhand, the coffee-stained table that held stacks of medical textbooks, the peeling paint on the walls that spoke of long nights and land-tlea sleep. This was her life. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. It was hers. Taking a deep breath, she whispered, I don't have to prove my worth to him or anyone else. I just have to prove it to myself. Those words echoed in her mind as she stood and grabbed her notebook, flipping through pages of anatomy diagrams and lecture notes. The pain that had felt unbearable moments ago began to morph into something else, resolve. She had survived worse. She would survive this, too. The alarm blared again the following day, and Amelia rose almost instinctively. Her body ached, and her mind felt heavy, but giving up wasn't an option. She threw out her uniform for the clinic, grabbed her textbooks, and headed out the door. As she made her way through another demanding day, she carried a new sense of purpose. The world wouldn't hand her anything, and she didn't need it to. She had her grit, dreams, and unwavering will to succeed. The hurt still dreams, and anger defined her. It was just another part of her journey, a reminder that every setback was a step toward becoming the woman she was meant to be. The wardrobe creaked ominously as Amelia pulled her work blouse from its sagging frame. She sighed, staring at the dilapidated piece of furniture she had been patching together for months. The wood had splintered further, and one of the doors hung precariously by a single hinge. It was beyond repair, but replacing it wasn't an option. Later that evening, an idea struck her while scrolling through local ads for secondhand furniture. She found the contact information for a local carpenter. His profile was straightforward: handmade furniture, repairs, and customization. But the testimonials painted a picture of someone reliable and honest. She dialed the number without hesitation. The following day, the doorbell rang, and Amelia was greeted. An idea struck her by Ethan, a tall, broad-shouldered man in his mid-30s. His jeans faded, and his warm smile contrasted sharply with his rugged appearance. You must be Amelia, he said, stepping inside with a toolbox. Let's take a look at this wardrobe. As Ethan examined the piece, his movements were deliberate, almost reverent, as if he were assessing more than just the broken wood. It's seen better days, he said with a chuckle, but it's got potential. Just like everything else, it can be fixed with a little care. Amelia smiled at his optimism, finding it unexpectedly comforting. If you think it can be saved, I'll trust you, she said, folding her arms. As Ethan worked, their conversation flowed naturally. He asked about her studies, jobs, and her mountain of responsibilities. At first, Amelia was guarded, hesitant to reveal too much. But Ethan's curiosity felt genuine, free of judgment or pity. You've got grit, he said, glancing at her over his shoulder. Most people would have given up by now. His words struck a chord. Amelia realized it had been a long time since anyone acknowledged her strength and her mountain of responsibilities. Ethan stood back, admiring his work. Good as new, he said proudly, wiping his hands on a rag. Then, with a shy grin, he handed her a slip of paper. If you ever need help again, just call. Amelia took the paper, surprised by the warmth in his gesture. "Thank you, Ethan," she said softly. She didn't know it then, but that brief encounter began a bond that would reshape her life. The days blurred together as Amelia returned to her relentless routine. But now, there was a subtle change, a lightness she couldn't quite explain. Ethan stopped occasionally, under the pretense of delivering forgotten tools or checking on the wardrobe's condition. Each visit was an opportunity for their conversations to deepen. They talked about everything: his struggles as a small business owner, her fears about failing her entrance exams, and the dreams they both chased despite the odds stacked against them. One afternoon, as Amelia sat at her kitchen table with her unstopped, Ethan watched her with quiet admiration. "Don't you ever tire of studying so much?" he asked. "Of course I do," she replied without looking up, a faint smile on her lips. "But every page I read gets me closer to where I want to be." Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "You're stronger than you think, Amelia. But you don't have to carry it all on your own." His words lingered in her mind long after he left. She had always prided herself on her independence, refusing to rely on anyone tired of appearing weak. Yet Ethan's presence felt different. He wasn't trying to fix her life. He simply to stand beside her. One evening, Amelia returned home to find her electricity bill in the mailbox. Her stomach sank as she opened it, the numbers glaring back at her. The cafe where she worked had canceled her shift due to a scheduling error, leaving her short money for the month. Sitting on her couch, gripping the bill tightly, Amelia felt the weight of her struggles press down on her. No matter how hard she worked, it always seemed like she barely kept her head above water. A knock on the door broke her thoughts. It was carrying a bag of bread and fruit. "I was in the neighborhood and thought you could use this," he said casually, though his eyes quickly focused on her distress. "Everything?" "Oh?" he asked, setting the bag on the counter. Amelia hesitated, but the exhaustion and frustration finally spilled out. She told him about the missed shift, the mounting bills, and the barely kept falling short. Ethan listened intently, his expression thoughtful. When she finished, he leaned forward, resting his hands on the table. "Amelia, can I tell you something?" She nodded, bracing herself for advice. She focused on what she wanted to hear. "I see how hard you're working," he said gently, "but maybe it's time to focus on what truly matters. Let me help. You could step back from the extra shifts and focus on your studies. I can cover your bills just until you pass your exams." Amelia's eyes widened in shock. "Ethan, I can't accept that. I can't depend on anyone. It's not who I am." Ethan met her gaze, his voice steady. "I know you're strong, Amelia, but strength isn't just about carrying everything alone. Sometimes, it's letting someone support you. I'm not offering this because I doubt you, but because I believe in you." His sincerity left her speechless. For the first time, Amelia considered the possibility that accepting help didn't make her weak. It simply made her human. After a long pause, she whispered, "I don't know how to thank you, but if I accept, I promise I'll make it worth it." Ethan smiled, visibly relieved. "You don't owe me anything, Amelia. I just want to see you succeed." From that moment, something shifted between them. Amelia allowed herself to lean on Ethan, not as a savior, but as a partner in her journey. Together, they began navigating the challenges of her demanding life, building a stronger bond with each passing day. Amelia's life began to shift in ways she hadn't anticipated. With Ethan's quiet support, she could dedicate more time to her studies. The hours she would have spent waitressing were now poured into her textbooks and practice exams. Her evenings were no longer a blur of exhaustion, but a time of purposeful focus. Ethan, too, found his days growing busier. His carpentry business was gaining traction, and word of his craftsmanship began to spread. Small orders turned into larger contracts, and his evenings were spent sanding, polishing, and perfecting his creations. Despite their pursuits, Amelia and Ethan carved out moments of togetherness. Some evenings, Ethan would bring his tools to her apartment, setting up shop at the kitchen table while Amelia studied nearby. The soft hum of his sander blended with the quiet rustle of her pages, a comforting background to their shared determination. But challenges persisted. Even temporarily, Amelia struggled with the guilt of relying on Ethan for financial help. Ethan, in turn, were his insecurities. As Amelia excelled in her studies, He couldn't shake the fear that her success would one day outpace him, leaving him behind. These unspoken worries came to a head one evening when Amelia returned from a particularly grueling mock exam. Her frustration was palpable, her energy drained. Sensing her tension, Ethan offered, even temporarily, to make tea. As he set the mugs down, she sighed heavily. Sometimes, I cut out for this. The competition, the pressure. It feels like too much. Ethan leaned forward, his gaze steady. You're the strongest person I know, Amelia. But you don't have to do this alone. Her eyes met his, and she allowed herself to voice her fears for the first time. What if I'm not enough? What if I'm putting everything into this and I fail? Ethan reached for her hand. You won't fail. And even if you stumble, I'll be here. This isn't just your dream. It's ours now. We're in this together. At that moment, Amelia realized that their partnership wasn't about dependency. It was about mutual support. They were building something far more enduring than individual. The months passed. For the first timest, their bond deepened. One evening, as Amelia was packing her books, Ethan appeared at the door with a simple proposal. Why don't we share a place? You're practically living out of a library, and I've been meaning to move CLO to my clients anyway. Amelia hesitated, but the idea made sense. Pullen helped ease their financial burdens, and the thought of building a home together felt like a natural progression. Within a week, they found a modest but cozy apartment. The space wasn't much, but to them, it felt like a blank canvas, waiting to be filled with their shared dreams. Ethan spent his evenings installing shelves and crafting furniture tailored to their needs, while Amelia organized her study materials precisely. Their new home reflected their partnership, a blend of practicality and warmth. The walls were adorned with Ethan's handmade frames, holding photos of cherished moments, and the bookshelves overflowed with Amelia's medical texts. As they settled into this new chapter, their shared lives took on a rhythm. Amelia would spend her mornings at the clinic, her afternoons in lectures, and her evenings studying at the kitchen table, ethically delivering custom pieces to clients and drafting new designs late into the night. Their schedules were demanding, but they always made time for each other. Whether it was a quick dinner or a walk through the park, these moments became the glue that held them together. One evening, as they sat on the couch reviewing Plan reflected out a small wooden box he had crafted. Inside was a hand-carved key with the words "Our Home" etched into the handle. For us, he said simply. Amelia's eyes filled with tears as she took the key. It wasn't just a symbol of their shared space but a promise of their commitment. Amelia's life felt more settled than it had in years. But the past has a way of resurfacing when least expected. While her phone during a study break, a notification popped up one afternoon. It was a message from Logan. I hope you're doing well. I'm sending this because I'd like you to attend my wedding. It would mean a lot to me. The words made her pause. Logan was the last person she expected to hear from, and the invitation stirred a mix of emotions. When she showed the message to Ethan, his brow furrowed. RY leaned calm but tinged with concern. Amelia considered it carefully one afternoon. It's not about him, she said finally. It's but me. I need to prove to myself that I've moved on. Ethan, like you to attendance, made him uneasy. If you need this right there with you. On the wedding day, Amelia and Ethan arrived at the elegant ballroom, their presence turning heads. Amelia's simple yet sophisticated dress accentuated her natural confidence, and Ethan exuded quiet strength in a tailored suit. As they entered the room, Logan's expression shifted from surprise to something more complicated. Seeing Amelia, radiant and self-assured, seemed to unsettle him. Amelia, you need this, ching them. His tone was warm, but his wedding day. Incredible. Thank you, she replied politely, her gaze steady. The tension grew thicker when Logan's fiancée, Sophia, joined them. Her sharp eyes quickly exuded quiet strength, the situation unmistakable. So, this is the famous Amelia, Sophia said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. The one he's never stopped talking about. The comment hung in the air, drawing the attention of nearby guests. Before Amelia could respond, Sophia turned to Logan, her anger bubbling. If she's so perfect, why didn't you marry her? Or do you still want to? The outburst left everyone stunned. Logan tried to placate Sophia, but Ed from across the room before he could. An older man, Logan's father, had collapsed, clutching his chest. Without hesitation, Amelia sprang into action. "Call 911, she shouted, kneeling beside him. Ethan helped clear the crowd, giving her space to work. Using her ML training, Amelia stabilized the man until paramedics arrived. The incident left a profound impression on everyone, especially Logan's parents, who died afterward. "We misjudged you," he said before he could admit, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for saving my husband's life." Amelia accepted the gratitude graciously, but maintained her dignity. Her actions weren't about proving her worth. They were about doing what was right. As Logan tried to approach her again, Amelia stopped him. "Logan, our chapter is over," she said firmly. "I have someone who I stand everything, and he's the one I want to build my life with." The past with Ethan by her side, her heart lighter than ever. She had faced her history, found her closure, and embraced the future she was building with the man who, indeed, saw her worth. As Amelia and Ethan left the hospital after the wedding's dramatic turn, the cool evening air wrapped around them like a calming balm. The stand of the day had stirred many emotions, but Amelia felt lighter. She began, but to herself, that she had with Ethan by her side moved far beyond the doubts and pain he had left behind. "I can't believe how calm you were back there," Ethan said, his voice filled with admiration. Amelia glanced at him, a small smile playing on her lips. "It wasn't about them, Ethan. It was about knowing who I am and my capabilities." Ethan nodded, slipping his hand into hers. "And you showed everyone exactly who you are. Women, a heart, and a strong strength most people can only dream of." For the first time in years, Amelia felt a profound sense of peace. In doing so, she had opened the door for the first time in years to a future unburdened by old wounds. Life capabilities felt like a new chapter for Amelia and Ethan, not because of what they had left behind, but because of what they were building together. Amelia threw herself into her studies with renewed determination, while Ethan's carpentry business flourished. Ethan began taking on larger projects, including custom furniture for local businesses and restoring antique pieces for a museum. He often worked late into the night, but he always made time to support Amelia, bringing her tea during study sessions, fixing her desk when it wobbled under the weight of her textbooks, or simply sitting with her as she reviewed flourished as they shared dinner. Ethan mentioned an idea that had been brewing in his mind. "I've been thinking about starting a workshop for youngie in the neighborhood," he said. "Teach them carpentry, help them learn a skill they can use." Amelia's eyes lit up. "That's incredible, Ethan. You'd be giving them a chance to build something, literally and figuratively." He smiled, his gaze soft. "Kind of like how you're building something with your studies. We're both trying to create futures, just in different ways." Their shared dreams became a cornerstone of their relationship. On weekends, they often worked side by side. Amelia volunteered at a local health clinic, and Ethan mentored teens in his growing workshop. Their lives were busy, but they found joy in the little moments. A quiet breakfast before the day began, a walk through the park on a rare afternoon off, or simply falling asleep on the couch together after a long day. Amelia's medical journey began to take her deeper into the community. Impressed by her professors, one of her professors recommended her for a community health outreach program. It was an opportunity Amelia couldn't pass up, a chance to apply her knowledge in real-world settings while helping those most in need. Her first outreach event was humbling. She spent hours offering consultations to patients who couldn't afford basic health care. Voluntarily woman impressador dripped Amelia's one of her professor's hand after receiving advice and medication. "You've given me hope," the woman whispered, her voice breaking. That moment stayed with Amelia long after the event ended. She returned home with a renewed sense of purpose. "This is why I chose medicine," she told Ethan, her voice filled with both exhaustion and passion. Meanwhile, Ethan's workshop became a beacon in their neighborhood. The young people he mentored began creating pieces they could sell, gaining confidence and independence. One boy, James, who had struggled to stay out of trouble, approached Ethan one afternoon with a broad grin. "Mr. Ethan, I sold my first chair," he said proudly. Ethan beamed, clapping James on the back. "See? Told you you had it in you." The workshop and the community health center began to intersect in unexpected ways. Amelia often referred families in need of stable furniture to Ethan, and he, in turn, encouraged his mints to seek medical advice from her outreach events. Their shared efforts created a ripple effect, transforming lives one step at a time. One evening, as Amelia reviewed her clinical notes and Ethan sanded the rocking chair frame, she paused to look at him. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" she asked. Ethan set down his tools and crossed the room to sit beside her. "Every day," he said, taking her hand. "And I think about how much further we're going to go, together." In that moment, surrounded by the quiet hum of their shared dreams, Amelia felt a sense of fulfillment she had never known before. Their journey wasn't easy, but it was theirs, a testament to resilience, love, and the power of building something meaningful with the person who most believed in you. As the seasons changed, so did Amelia and Ethan's lives. They had settled into a rhythm, balancing their demanding schedules with moments of shared tranquility. Ethan's carpentry business thrived, and Amelia was approaching her final exams, a critical step toward medical school. One evening, after a long day at the clinic, Amelia returned home to find the apartment bathed in soft, golden light. Candles flickered on the dining table, and the scent of fresh wood mingled with the warm aroma of baked bread. Ethan stood in the kitchen, wearing his signature warm smile. "What's all this?" Amelia asked, setting her bag down. "Just thought we could use a quiet evening," Ethan replied, pulling a chair for her. As they ate, laughter filled the room, and the weight of their responsibilities momentarily lifted. But as the dinner ended, Ethan grew uncharacteristically quiet. He stood, reached for a small wooden box on the counter, and returned to the table. "Amelia," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion, "when I met you, I was just a carpenter trying to fix broken things. But you showed me that some things aren't just fixed. They're rebuilt. Stronger. You've made me better in every way, and I can't imagine my life without you." He opened the box, revealing a simple but elegant ring nestled inside. "I want to build a life with you, Amelia. Will you marry me?" Tears welled in Amelia's eyes as she nodded, her voice catching in her throat. "Yes," she whispered, her heart full. Their engagement marked the start of an new chapter that followed, filled with quiet celebration and plans tour. While Amelia focused on her exams, Ethan crafted a dining table for their new home, a symbol of the life they were building together. Amelia passed her entrance exams with flying colors, and her acceptance into medical school brought tears of joy and relief. Ethan celebrated her achievement with a surprise, a handcrafted study desk with carved details inspired by their journey. But family and life threw an unexpected twist their way. Amelia began feeling uncharacteristically tired and nauseous, symptoms she initially brushed off as stress. When they persisted, she decided to visit the clinic where she worked. Hours later, she returned home with news that would change their lives forever. When she approached him, Ethan was in the arm. "Ethan," she began, her voice trembling with a mix of nervousness and excitement. He turned, noticing the emotion in her eyes. "What is it?" "I'm pregnant," she said, her words hanging in the air. Ethan froze for a moment before his face broke into a wide smile. He rushed to her, wrapping her when she approached him, in a tight embrace. "We're going to be parents?" he asked. His voice nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Yes, it's unexpected, but it's our next adventure." The months that followed were a whirlwind of preparations. Ethan crafted a crib and other baby furniture by hand, pouring his love and care into every detail. Meanwhile, Amelia balanced her medical studies with the excitement and challenges of pregnancy. Their tiny home, once a symbol of their dreams, transformed into a haven for their growing family. The nursery in soft, calming hues filled it with books, toys, and the anticipation of a new beginning. The day Amelia and Ethan welcomed their daughter, Lily, was filled with emotions they hadn't known they were capable of. The delivery was long, but when Amelia finally held Lily in her arms, she felt a sense of completeness that words couldn't capture. "She's perfect," Ethan whispered, his voice breaking as he cradled the tiny bundle. As the days turned into weeks, they settled into their roles as parents. Their lives changed in ways they couldn't have imagined. Late-night feedings, diaper changes, and soothing a crying baby became part of their routine, but they embraced it joyfully. Amelia's passion for medicine deepened as she balanced joyfully it with her studies. She often found herself inspired by her patients, many of whom reminded her of her struggles and found renewed purpose. He expanded his workshop to include pieces designed for young families inspired by his experience. Their bond grew stronger as they supported each other through the challenges of parenthood. On evenings when Amelia felt overwhelmed, Ethan would remind her of how far they had come. "We've built everything together," he would say, "and we'll keep building no matter what." One afternoon, as they watched Lily take her first wobbly steps, Amelia turned to Ethan with tears in her eyes. "Everything we've been through led us here," she said softly, "and I wouldn't trade it for anything." Ethan took her hand, his gaze steady. "Neither would I. This is our legacy, Amelia. It's not just about what we've built, the love we've shared and the life we've created." Their modest home, once just a space to live, had become a sanctuary filled with laughter, hope, and love. They knew there would be more challenges ahead, but they were ready to face them together, knowing that their strength came not from what they had, but from who they had become. Amelia's medical career blossomed as she balanced her roles as a mother, student, and community advocate. She dedicated much of her time to a health outreach program that provides medical care to underserved communities. Every consultation, every smile of gratitude from her patients reaffirmed her purpose. Ethan and Lily often joined her on weekends at the community health center. Ethan helped install shelves and benches he had crafted while Lily charmed everyone with her giggles and curiosity. Seeing her husband and daughter working alongside her filled Amelia with a profound gratitude. One particular day, Amelia met a young girl named Rosa, who reminded her of herself. Rosa, barely 10 years old, had accompanied her grandmother, who was suffering from untreated diabetes. The grandmother hesitated to seek help, fearing judgment and cost, but Amelia's gentle approach eased her worries. "Medicine isn't just about treating illness," Amelia later told Ethan that evening as they watched Lily play in the backyard. "It's about healing hearts, too. Rosa's grandmother reminded me why I started this journey." Meanwhile, Ethan's carpentry workshop became a hub for young apprentices. His mentorship had transformed the lives of many teens in the neighborhood, giving them a purpose and a craft they could be proud of. He began receiving larger orders, even gaining recognition from local businesses for his innovative designs. Despite their busy schedules, Amelia and Ethan never let their connection falter. They made time for each other, even if it was as simple as a quiet cup of tea after Lily had gone to bed. These small moments became the foundation of their enduring love. One evening, as they sat together under the soft glow of their porch light, Ethan took Amelia's hand. "You're not just a doctor to your patients," he said softly. "You're a light to everyone around you, including me." Amelia smiled, her eyes reflecting the love she felt for him. "And you're the one who gave me the strength to shine, Ethan. We're a team, and everything we've built has been because of that." Their partnership wasn't just about their successes. It was ABOs they touched together and the legacy they were creating as a family. Amelia and Ethan's efforts grew into something much more significant than themselves as the years passed. The community health center expanded under Amelia's leadership, offering free vaccinations, educational workshops, and specialized clinics for chronic illnesses. What had started as a small initiative now served thousands of families, becoming a beacon of hope in the city. Ethan's workshop in woodworking to underprivileged youth while also as the years passed, eating sustainable furniture for local schools and hospitals. His mints, once struggling teens, had become skilled carpenters, many opening their businesses. Their daughter, Lily, grew up immersed in this environment of service and resilience. At 7 years old, she often accompanied her parents, proudly declaring, "I want to be a doctor like Mommy and a Bayanan Daddy." One summer evening, the family this progress. Amelia was invited to speak one summer evening as she stood the SSL staring out at the faces of those she had helped. She felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. "When I started this journey," she began, her voice steady but emotional, "I thought my dream was to become a doctor. But I've learned that true success isn't about titles or accolades. learn the impact we leave behind. Together with my husband, my daughter, and all of you, we've built something that will last far beyond us. This is our legacy." The crowd erupted in applause, and as Amelia stepped off the stage, Ethan was waiting with Lily in his arms. "You were amazing," Ethan said, kissing her cheek. "So are you," she replied, her voice filled with gratitude. That night, as they walked home under a sky full of stars, Amelia reflected on how far they had come. They had turned challenges into opportunities, built a family grounded in love, and created a community that thrived on compassion and hard work. But their journey wasn't over. There were still dreams to pursue, lessons to teach, and lives to touch. For Amelia and Ethan, their legacy wasn't just what they had achieved. It was the foundation they had laid for others to continue building. As Lily skipped ahead, her laughter echoing in the night, Amelia knew their most significant contribution to the world was yet to come.